Step inside a Roman garden with us and take in the plethora of birds, trees, flowers, and clouds that surround you. Can't you practically hear the birds chirping, the breeze on your skin? Well, that's precisely the sensation this fresco garden was designed to invoke. The painted garden from the Villa of Livia now sits within the Palazzo Massimo, a sanctuary within the hectic city of Rome, but it was once the private garden of Emperor Augustus's wife, Livia. This beautiful room is just one of the many treasures of the Roman Imperial elite that are now housed within the Palazzo Massimo Museum. The museum was originally built between 1883 and 1887 by the Jesuit priest Massimiliano Massimo to house a Jesuit school, but it was acquired in 1981 by the Italian government to be turned into a new site for the National Roman Museum. Palazzo Massimo houses a vast collection of ancient Greek and Roman art, generally spanning from the Archaic Period through the Imperial Period. It is made up of 4 floors which are intricately organized both chronologically and by theme, creating a sense that the visitor is walking through a timeline of Roman history. The ground floor depicts the Roman evolution of portraits, starting from the Greek Archaic Period and moving through the Roman Republican and Imperial eras, while also showcasing famous works such as Augustus's as Pontificus Maximus and the Boxer at Rest. The first floor houses some of the most poignant elements of the museum's vast collection, its array of Roman copies and Greek works, usually sculptures. The second floor is dedicated to frescoes, stuccos, and mosaics, showcasing the aesthetics of Roman aristocratic homes with their wall and floor designs. Finally, the basement is dedicated to the coin and metal collection, displaying the history of Roman economics and use of money, as well as jewelry. In this video, we will look at a few of the museum's highlights to develop how this museum allows the visitors to better understand how Romans interacted with Greek art as a method of self-fashioning and imperial, intellectual, and cultural continuity. The looting of Greek art by Romans was extremely popular during Roman expansion into Greece in 211 BCE. The most precious bounty a general could return to Rome with was art rather than gold or other precious metals. A collection of prestigious Greek art asserted ancient Romans' power and dominance in society. In high demand, Roman artists made numerous copies of Greek works, particularly sculptures, to decorate the homes or gardens of the elite. Unlike how we may perceive copies today, Romans did not view copies as any less worthy than the original Greek works. It was a subject matter that was important in linking the owner to the glory of ancient Greece. It is lucky for us that the Romans engaged so heartily in the practice of copying, since the Greek bronze originals have been lost over time. Bronze was a valuable material that could be melted down and used for something else. Without the Roman copies, we would know very little about Greek sculpture. However, we do have to be wary of assuming that the Roman copies are exact replicas of the Greek originals. In some fortunate cases, we have written descriptions of the original authors, such as Pliny the Elder, that can corroborate the iconographic accuracy of some Roman copies. Rather than mass-produced junk, as we may think of copies today, Roman copies were crafted with an individuality of form and personality. We must carefully consider Roman copies as an interpretation of their Greek originals, as choices to alter a Roman copy are integral to the Roman values of realism and originality. We can now analyze the relationship between Roman and Greek art by looking at specific sculptures in Palazzo Massimo that demonstrate the immense influence that Greek art had on the Romans. We begin on the ground floor with the Boxer at Rest, one of the most valuable and rare pieces of bronze sculpture that have survived from the Hellenistic era of ancient Greece. The exact date of creation and artist are unknown, but it was discovered by Rodolfo Lanciani in 1885 on the Coronal Hill of the Baths of Constantine, carefully buried, suggesting that it was hidden from looters during periods of upheaval in Rome. Ironically, however, the sculpture originally made its way to Rome as loot. The Boxer at Rest comes from a distinct era of Greek art, where artists focused on moving beyond the idolization of perfect and heroic depictions of men, appealing to the later Roman values of depicting natural, veristic human forms. While the Boxer at Rest himself can be seen as representing humility and perseverance, as we see him being depicted in a moment of defeat after a long, gruesome fight. The history of this sculpture can also represent perseverance as a piece of valuable bronze through ancient to modern times, to now stand in a national museum.
We now move to Lancelotti's Discobolus, a marble Roman copy from the 2nd century of a Greek bronze by famous sculptor Myron from around the 5th century BCE. The statue captures an incredible sense of movement as the figure is highly wound up in the moment before launching a discus. The torsion of the body, with limbs crossed in almost unnatural ways, and beautifully, even impossibly, rendered muscles are a prime example of Greek idealism from the classical period. Myron's Discobulus was originally created to honor a victor of a discus competition. Although in Greek idealistic fashion, his face and body show little resemblance of a singular person. The original bronze was copied in marble by the Romans countless times. While some critique Roman copies as a lesser form of art due to their nature as replicas, the postmodern hyperreal lens allows for the reassessment of the value of such copies, especially of the athletic male ideal. The hyperreal showcases how the Discobulus, Myron participates in a paradox of the natural body being crafted so idealistically that it transcends human nature to something godlike. Then, when the Romans copy this work, another layer of paradox is added. Romans emulating and idealizing that which was already an ideal to begin with. This legacy of the Greek hyperreal persists to this day. The Lancelotti's Discobulus' own object history evidences that claim as it was stolen by the Nazi Party in the 1930s to be a propagandistic symbol for the party's claim to idealism in Greek godlike male heroic legacy, but was eventually returned to the Palazzo Massimo. By applying the hyperreal lens to Discobulus, we were able to better appreciate the original form of the Greek idealized athletic male, as well as the Roman practice of copying and their lasting impact on Western culture.
We now move to the statue of Augustus as Pontifex Maximus, a 12 BCE scale marble statue that was discovered on the slope of the Oppian Hill in the Via Labiciana in 1910. Although the sculpture is not a copy of a Greek statue, it still contains traditional Greek themes that further suggest the Romans' fascination with Greek artwork. The statue depicts the Emperor Augustus, who is shown as an idealized and youthful figure. Although Augustus was at least 50 years old when the statue was created, he is also represented with a sense of agelessness. This was intentional propaganda to portray him as a classical idealized Greek sculpture, to further legitimize his rule as Roman emperor after the golden age of their predecessor, Greece. The sculpture was also made in two different marbles. The body is made of Aluna marble, whereas the head is made of Greek Pentelic marble. Therefore, it is suspected that a Greek artist created the portrait head. Although there is a clear line that divides across the hood of the toga to indicate that the structure is two different pieces, this was common in Greek art. The head indicating that it was made by a Greek sculptor suggests a strong affiliation with Greek artists, and a sense of pride to showcase their work. It demonstrates a portrayal of honoring classical Greek artwork, while also using it to demonstrate a new golden age for Rome.
Palazzo Massimo's collection wonderfully highlights Greek art, which made its way to Rome as war spoils and quickly became extremely influential on Roman art and culture. By engaging in the practice of copying, Greek art became more accessible, allowing many to envision themselves participating in the richness of Greek culture, intellectualism, luxury, and athleticism. The emperors used Greek art in another way, propaganda. By depicting themselves as ancient Greek heroes, the epitome of idealism, Roman emperors became almost godly in their connection to this revered ancient culture. The infatuation with Greek art did not end with the Romans. People looked to these Greek forms throughout history as both propaganda and inspiration for expression of the unattainable. We can visit the Palazzo Massimo and appreciate a variety of Roman sculptures, and in particular see how the Greeks were fundamental in shaping Roman visual culture.